Here we are. Hey guys, good morning everybody. Bob Umar here, camera's right here. I am here with Michel Falcon and, did I say that right?
You did.
Okay, good. And today for my daily LinkedIn live stream, I have my first ever interview, which is kind of exciting. A little bit of an intro here. Again, people are coming in, so we're gonna make sure we give them a little bit of time to get kind of acclimatized. So we have the second laptop here where I can track people's comments. The topic today is going to be about employee engagement and company culture. So if you have comments or questions about that for Michel, you can comment below, let people know what's going on, all right? And if you have any comments or if you like what you're hearing and you want people to be part of the conversation, again, we're trying to grow this channel, the Power of Connection channel. I'm here every Monday to Friday at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we want to get as many people on here. So tag people below and share this on your feeds. And let's get people part of this conversation to see who's talking about these topics. And the topics I typically care about and cover are usually leadership, entrepreneurship, personal branding, thought leadership, and things like that. It looks like we have 26 people in here, which is fantastic. Awesome to have people here. So I think there we go. We're ready to go. So we heard people here. Okay, people are saying hello. They're all in. Also, let us know where you're from. Are you from Australia? Are you from the United States? Where are you guys? Are you from Toronto, where we are? Let us know, and we'll start chatting away. So, Michel, let's start with the opening question, and thank you for being my first LinkedIn Live interview.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, that's good. So the first question about corporate culture and employee engagement. Tell me a bit about. I'm more curious. I'd like to start with the corporate culture thing. So I'm curious how you think corporate culture is best created, and what are some of the things that people are doing right out there, and what are the struggles they have too.
Yes. So where it starts, and we've heard this before, is creating alignment behind a shared mission, purpose, and values. Now, I know that might sound cliche, and I've heard this before, but if there are naysayers to building the foundation of your company culture by a shared mission and values, I suggest that those naysayers perhaps haven't had success with it because they didn't do it properly. They didn't embed it deep rooted into the DNA of the company. Like, Bobby, how can we argue the success of Netflix, Starbucks, Zappos, who all believe in this as well too, right? Like, I think they know what they're doing. So it really does start there. You have to be willing to hire and fire according to your values. Yeah. You have to be an advocate of it as a servant leader and as a benevolent leader. That is the foundation of every great company that has a strong company culture. Where I find most companies go wrong, or most leaders go wrong with building their culture, is that one, they were never taught how to build it. So I believe there's a lack of education. And where do you go? Like I think in go into the comments, guys, and let me know. Like, do we all agree that culture matters? If we say yes, but the next step is the hardest. Well, what do I do next? How do we do this, right? And I think this is part of the reason why you and I are employed, is because we know what to do next. So it's a lack of education. On the leadership side, it's short-term versus long-term thinking. Company culture isn't like a pay-per-click program where you're going to see results overnight. It's not like a Facebook campaign where you'll see conversions and immediate results. Company culture is developing relationships and to your point, the power of connection, and that can take time, right? The person that you married, your best friend, that didn't happen on the first day, I'm assuming.
In most best cases, yes.
Yes, right? So that's the second part, and the third part is having the DNA of caring about a stranger. And when you onboard new team members into your culture, those individuals are strangers to you in the early days. So you need to have this benevolent leadership style to lead a company culture. So those are the three things. The first being the culture and the values and the mission, and then those are the three things where I think most leaders stumble.
What's interesting is that I always think of leading corporate company culture as being a parent. And, because I think a lot of parents start off with no experience being a parent.
Of course.
And a lot of people who start off, leading a culture have no experience leading a culture. So, it'd be nice to have more training or education and books around that. Or people like you who are discussing on these platforms in terms of how to actually build that culture.
Yeah, so For the viewers, I manage a hospitality.
They're all saying culture matters, by the way, so it's all
Okay,
good.
perfect.
Yeah,
Perfect. You're in the right place, guys. You're in the right place. In Toronto, my business partners and I operate a portfolio of restaurants and bars, and company culture is one of our competitive advantages. And when we first built the organization, we did very much have this family-like environment. Mm-hmm. We have transitioned to having a balance between having this family-like environment, right, but also this high-performance sports team-like culture. Right. So, Bobby, if you're my team member, yeah, and I cared for you as a member of our community and our culture, but you didn't produce results, yeah, it's not like you're the delinquent son that I would be like, that's just Bobby, right? Like, let's just, no, like, we're gonna have a hard conversation. Like, this is business, it's competitive, and especially in hospitality, and I'm certain that the individuals watching also operate within very competitive industries, but it's about finding that balance within your culture of having that family-like environment, but also a high-performance team similar to a professional sports team.
Right. And by the way, if you guys are having questions for Michel, by all means, we're having a boatload of comments here, which is great, and people are commenting, which is fantastic. But share some questions on, employee engagement culture, things you might want to know, and then I'll actually get Michel to answer them after we're done having our discussion. Let's switch over to employee engagement. Right? Mm-hmm. So, let's talk about, for me, I find that my history in the corporate world was I never felt engaged in the right way.
Sure.
I felt like a number. I felt like I was just there to service my boss, and I didn't feel like I was supported. And I'm curious how common you think that is.
Very.
Yeah.
I wrote a book that came out last year called People First Culture, and it was very heavily weighted on the employee side. It's a book about building relationships with employees and customers, but how can you deliver a great experience to customers if the employee, the Bobbies of the world, don't feel truly engaged? Now, when it comes to employee engagement, there's one thing amongst others, and this is the starting point that you need to focus on, is really understanding the individual's purpose and their definition of success. You can't blanket your entire team. Let's say you had 7 people reporting to you. They each have individual purposes, and I'll give you 2 real world examples. I have a gentleman that works on our management team named Ken Roy. He joined us as a shift leader. He's now an assistant general manager. His purpose is to be the general manager of one of our venues. That's his career purpose. As his leader, I have to get him there.
Right.
I also have another individual named Riley. He is one of our top 3 bartenders in our entire portfolio. His purpose isn't to be our bar manager. His purpose is actually to leave our company and join a biotech company. Right. So that's what he went to school for. That's his purpose. To engage him, I need to serve his purpose. He's going to leave our company one day, and I'm fine with that. But this is the understanding, is until he leaves, he must give himself to our company, and I will give myself to him. Once he's done graduating, I will be his personal recruiter. Right. I will go to LinkedIn and try to find people that I know in the biotech space in Toronto and find him his next job. Right. So it's understanding the purpose. Bobby had a purpose when he worked with that company, but the leader didn't intimately understand what that was. And we have to be willing, with or without the company, we have to get our team members where they want to get to in their career. And that is how you start off building genuine engagement.
And some people are commenting some really good stuff here. They talk about vulnerability-based trust, shared values. It takes time and it takes intention. So I think that's really interesting stuff to think about. The other question I have too about employee engagement is, I now have a startup. So and actually I should mention to people a little bit of promotion here. So Michel's company is sponsoring the next LinkedIn local that's happening May 14th at Bear Restaurant on the 3rd floor. The topic is storytelling, presenting live and online. So we have a great slate of speakers next week on May 14th. So definitely check that out. And thank you for being part of that. Yeah. The LinkedIn locals are pretty hot right now in Toronto and all around the world. So that's kind of exciting. And what I will say is that, DYPB is also a sponsor, and that's my startup. And sometimes I wonder, like one of the best advice I ever got was to hire slowly and fire fast. Mm-hmm. And but I gotta say, I still struggle with the firing fast. Like, these people, they're very nice and they're lovely, and I don't want to let some people have left and other people have come, but I don't really want to let people go or make people go. But I struggle with that. So, like, can you give me some advice on how to do that without being a jerk?
Yes. It comes to the realization, nice and lovely doesn't pay the bills.
Okay.
It doesn't help you hit your KPIs.
Yep.
But this is what I will say: when it comes to hiring fast, be careful in how you do that, because you're the one that
hire slowly.
Hire slowly, fire fast, right?
But you're saying hire fast.
Well, no, pardon me. I misspoke. Be careful how quickly you fire, because you were the individual that hired them. Right. So that's a negative reflection of you too, right? Yeah, so this is my kind of rule of thumb, is that if a team member is not living within the values, or if they're not performing well, hitting their KPIs or whatnot, if I hire them, it's my responsibility to pick them back up.
Yeah.
You have these honest conversations with them about the performance. Netflix has a really awesome core value. It's radical honesty, right?
Nice.
It's fantastic. It's such
I love it.
Good set of 2 words. And then you pick that person up. If they stumble again, perhaps you have the same conversation, and then I kind of have a 3 strikes and you're out rule.
Right.
I have more tolerance for somebody who might be struggling with skill set,
right?
A salesperson, a marketer.
Yeah.
But I have very little patience for any individual that breaks our core values. I will expedite that offboarding process.
Right. Okay. Interesting. And for me, I'll just share kind of my thoughts on culture too, which is, for me, culture is something that a lot of people say culture goes top down, and I think that's very, very important. But what I also find really interesting, particularly the large organization, culture can actually be created from the bottom up, and they kind of meet somewhere in the middle and create this overall culture, which is actually quite fascinating. I find organizations where they actually empower employees to actually start creating the culture and think about the culture. Can be really empowering for the employees versus the companies to say, here's our culture, do you fit?
Sure. As
opposed to getting them involved. And so one of the things we've been doing with DYPB is we have quarterly meetings to talk about our values, how we're doing, how we're all feeling. And I find that right now there's about 12 of us, so we feel kind of excited and we're molding this culture, and I'm hoping that's going to work long term for us.
And you really did hit the nail on its head. I love crowdsourcing ideas for our culture from all areas of the business, whether it's a dishwasher or a hostess, server, or whoever within our business. If you think about it, Bobby, our frontline employees, the ones that interact with our customers, I'll have a hostess tonight speak to more customers in one evening than I might as an owner in an entire month.
Right.
So who is it that really lives within the culture and is a brand representative of our culture? It's them. It's not. It's me. I'm secondary.
Right.
So to your point, and I 100% agree with you, like that is where we need to get the ideas from. Those team members, and they're the ones that really are the foundation of it. We are flag bearers.
Right.
Like Richard Branson is a flag bearer and advocate, right?
Yeah.
He's not the one speaking to customers every single day like his frontline employees.
Sure.
So who really, maybe Richard Branson built the culture, version 1.0 and 1.1, but it's his team members that brought it to 2.0, 3.0, and so forth.
Right. Yeah. And I think for me, running a startup, it's something that I'm going to empower people that I'm going to let go of, and they're going to start doing it on their own. I'll still be the flagship bearer, the ambassador, right, to try to champion everybody as much as I could. But that's something that I need to focus on.
Well, you're really like the CEO, Danny Myers from Shake Shack and the restaurateur in New York says the CEO is the shaman of the culture.
Yeah, okay, sure.
Right? The shaman, the shepherd, whatever.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's really the role that we play.
Okay. We have a question over here. You want to do a question?
Let's do it.
All right. You have someone that shows up, gives their best, is aligned with the company values, but is missing KPIs. Do you fire them?
No. You, it's more difficult to find somebody that will live within the values than a marketer who knows how to build Facebook ad campaigns, let's say, for example.
Right.
Get them the support they need. As a benevolent leader, if you're the one that can coach them, coach them. If they need an outside resource, provide that for them, within reason, of course, if you can afford it. But if they struggle a second and a third time, then you have to make a decision. People don't get a pass in our organizations because they're just culture fits, right? Like you're trying to build an organization, you need the people with the highest level of competence for their skill set. So coach them, you hired them, like I mentioned earlier, coach them again, and then you may have to get
Although if they do work hard and they align with the values, maybe there's another role for them that will be more matching.
That's actually good. That's
so you can
very
shift
good
them
point.
down, shift them across or down. But at least it's something they can do, because again, to your point, it's really hard to find people who align with the culture. That is huge. That's really difficult to find.
I had a conversation this morning about that very topic, and I'm so thankful you brought that up. I have a team member in our organization who has told us, she's in a management position, I don't like operations, but I love learning and development and wants to be a corporate trainer. She's in the wrong seat, right?
Yeah.
Wrong seat in the bus. We got to get her in that position because she's going to thrive in that position. So I'm so thankful you brought that up.
And I'm gonna give a shout out to Doug, because you mentioned Richard Branson. Richard Branson speaking in Toronto, June 10th at Hasten Hustle, and Hasten Hustle is in partnership with DYPP as well, so we support them. And if you're gonna check that out, I spoke at Hasten Hustle last year. It was amazing, so that was really, really awesome. So I enjoyed that. So let's see, what else can we talk about? I mean, you have any questions or something?
I want to actually ask, if I may, the viewers, what companies do you admire for their company culture as a customer, and why? Like, what is it? Because I'm in the midst of building this online course, and I believe there are a few types of company cultures. There's the Zappos.com of the world, where it's like friendly and weird is what they call it. But then there's Netflix, which is like high performance, only the highest competent people can work here. Yeah. So there's different types of cultures. So I'm curious to know what companies you like doing business with because of their company culture and why.
That's good. You guys comment that below. We have another question too. And again, you can add your questions as well as answer Michelle's question, because that's a very important question. It was, how important do you feel hiring a good fit up front plays into long-term employee culture?
It's actually the first step. So if I'm understanding your question correctly, when my management team, who does the majority of our hiring now, hires for any position within the organization, whether it's a dishwasher, a bartender, or somebody on our finance team, the skill set interview questions is actually the third step in our interview process. The second step is culture. We ask 10 culture questions, and the reason we ask 10 is because we have 5 core values. We ask 2 questions per core value. If that individual does not pass the culture interview, we get them out right away. I don't care what their resume says.
Wow.
It does not matter.
Ballsy.
I don't care if they are the best chef, if they worked underneath Gordon Ramsay. I do not care. Yeah. If they do pass the culture interview, then they go to skill set. Now I care if you know how to cook a steak or make a cocktail or create a P&L statement. Right. Going back to Netflix, Reed Hastings is the co-founder. I really like Netflix as a company. I think they have just built this fantastic organization. There's a very good book on Netflix called Powerful by a woman named Patty McCord. She was the former chief talent officer of Netflix. Highly recommend reading that book. But back to the question, or back to Reed Hastings, he said, "We will not tolerate brilliant jerks."
Yeah, exactly.
Wait for the end part.
Okay.
Because the cost of teamwork is too high.
Wow.
Like,
that is amazing.
It is. And think about it. How many times have you worked in an organization where this jerk or jerkette was heralded and celebrated because they were a great salesperson, but nobody liked them, right? They carried themselves with arrogance. That's why humility is one of our core values, and we have let people go for not being humble and for being arrogant.
And I can tell you that having worked in the entertainment industry, it's just challenging because there are a lot of divas, and the size of your ego doesn't match the size of your talent, but at the same time, how does that fit with the overall, team, what we're trying to do? Because I've worked with, and actually there's speakers too, my speaker role that are divas. So
goodness.
So whenever I'm at a conference, out of 40 speakers, there's maybe 2 or 3 that are total divas. It's very difficult to work with them and manage them. It's like, man, you know what? You are never coming back because you are stressing on my entire team. Oh, yes. You're causing many man hours of challenges, and I don't want to deal with that.
some speakers expect to be like carried on stage.
Oh, it's crazy.
And it's
On an elephant. It's
yes.
insane. By a couple of companies people mentioned Tom Shoes. Never heard of it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Tom Shoes.
Blake McCuskey.
Yeah, and then other people say Intercare and Dell, right balance of family and family culture versus performance.
Okay.
Virgin is another one I said.
Yeah.
We have another question. We have some great traction. There's like 92 people on the feed right now. So let's do the second question that showed up here. How do you stay engaged in a narcissistic culture? Can you actually survive and thrive? Ooh, that's a good one.
I don't see how you could, unless you are one of those individuals as well too. I'll keep my answer short. I don't think you can. Like, imagine I wouldn't, knowing myself intimately and my behavior and my definition of success, that wouldn't align with my values.
Yeah.
And I'm not changing my values, not because I'm stubborn, but I just know who I am. And I wouldn't put myself in that culture. If you feel like you are in that position, I would reflect and be like, what's most important to me in my workplace and my definition of success as an individual, but also as a team member, then go try to find a company that aligns with my values.
Yeah, and what I would say to that too is that it depends who the narcissist is. So, but if many people are narcissistic on the team, if your manager and director are, that's going to be a harder thing to deal with.
Yeah, you can't escape.
What I would say also that though is, can you survive? Yes, you can survive. Will you be happy? Probably not. Can you thrive? Yes, you can thrive, but that means you might have to align with their values of narcissism, and pretty soon you'll be a miserable person yourself. So, the question is whether you want to be that person, and you can choose to either. There's always three choices. You can either try to change the situation, you can try to accept the situation, or you can try to exit the situation. And I think in these type of situation, if it doesn't align with your values, you want to get something better, you may have to try to find a way to exit.
Yep.
That's what I would say. So, looks like we have a lot of people here, a lot of great stuff here. Now, again, if you guys are just joining us, make sure that you are sharing below your thoughts on employee engagement and company culture, ask some questions, tag people in the conversation. We can stick around for a few more minutes here to maybe take on a few more topics. Any other topics you want to kind of broach or give some advice to people that are on this live stream feed?
I actually more so had a question for the audience members. Where do you go to find education on managing your team and increasing their engagement, other than books? Because like books can give you inspiration, but sometimes I find that it doesn't give you the blueprint.
Well, I know there are culture companies that go in and try to help with the culture and understand it and improve it, but like. So you can find like a company that consults with you to do it?
No, not you could. No,
Yeah.
I just like, where do you go to find that education to how to be a better leader and engage your team members? Like, is it podcasts you guys are listening to? Like, if it's books, is it online courses?
Good question.
So I'm curious to know where you guys go for that.
Okay, we have some more questions here. So one is,
Sure.
what are the top 5 essentials to making a great company culture?
Yeah, so first and foremost, it's the values and the mission to build the foundation and the North Star of the company. It is reprimanding and rewarding people who live within the cultures. That's 2. The third would be hiring and firing according to that. I mentioned earlier my hiring methodology, how culture comes before skill set. Fourth, I would say the benevolent leadership. If you're the leader of the organization or the leader of your department, kind of monkey see, monkey do.
Okay.
And then the fifth would be refinement. Culture is always growing. Just because your culture is relevant today doesn't mean it's going to be relevant in 3 to 6, 9 months. Culture is kind of like a baby. Like you're good to your point relating to family. Like you need to feed it. It's sometimes it's gonna crap everywhere.
I'm telling you,
have
like
to clean it.
I'm telling you, all the stuff I do with parenting is big on culture. Like we have in my family, we have a team flag and we have a list of our roles and responsibilities and we also have our team over values. And the kids were involved in coming up with this stuff. It was a great process because now it's there for them to say, well, are you living your values?
Yeah.
When they disrespect myself or like a teacher or whatever, your number 3 value, Raya, I'll say, is respect. Were you living your values in that moment?
Yeah.
She's like, no, I wasn't. And so it's fantastic because I can call her out on that because it's something she actually came up with.
Yeah.
which I think is really awesome.
There's actually one other thing too.
Yeah.
No one is excused from the culture if
Right.
they go against your values and mission. And I'll give you an example. I actually wrote up my business partner's fiance for not living within our values. Yeah, that caused a big fight. But I'm not backing down. Nobody is excused from it, including myself. I would expect my business partners to write me up if I went against our values.
Right. Okay. We have a couple of answers to your question on how they seek stuff. So
Yes.
some people said Drucker management books.
Okay.
Is one they do. Another one, talk to someone who's been there and done that.
Sure.
Like this guy. Okay, that's one.
Like this guy.
There you go. Thank you. Like I said, mentors within my company was another one that I came up with. So those are some good ones that people came up with. Having open discussion with your fellow managers. Some go to YouTube or ask other companies for people about culture and engagement. Ultimately, you should ask your own people. So they have audiobooks, coaching habits, alchemists, mindsets.
Okay.
Yeah, lots of great.
Well,
Well, you guys are totally involved here. I love that. We have a really. I mean, I'm loving the engagement here. People are getting some really great information.
Thank you, everyone.
That's awesome. That's
That's
awesome. So I think if there aren't any more other questions, we've kind of normally the way I set these up. And again, we're here every Monday to Friday at 8:30 a.m. to try to engage you guys, share some great content. I'll be doing live interviews with people like Michel. I'm going to try to do it every week. Since today's Wednesday, right?
That's right.
Maybe I'll do them every Wednesday. I mean, I don't know. Like, that'll be the thing.
That's a good idea.
Wacky Wednesday meetups with really cool.
How about Wisdom Wednesday?
Oh, there you go. No, it's not bad. Wacky, where'd that come from?
You can PayPal me $5.
All right, that's good. All right, guys. Michel, anything you want to tell people in terms of where they can find you or stuff you want to promote?
My parents blessed and cursed me with a unique name, so I'm very easy to find online. So it's Michel Falcon. Love to connect with you guys on LinkedIn. So Michel, Michel, and Falcon like the bird. And then just go from there. I don't really have anything to push. Like I do have a book, but you can find that, right? No hard sell with me.
Yeah. I'm sorry. One last question. Look, how do you create happiness in your organization? Oh.
Well, you have to first define what happiness means.
Right.
And
to everybody.
Yes.
Yeah.
So happiness to me could mean differently, or could be different than how Bobby defines happiness. For example, happiness for someone might be like, I want to earn as much money as possible in as short a period of time. Okay, that's honest, right?
I don't resonate, but hey, I can respect
exactly.
that.
But happiness for Michel Falcon, who used to work at 1-800-GOT-JUNK as a call center agent in his early 20s, was education. I wanted to learn how the founder of 1-800-GOT-JUNK went from nothing to 300 million. That was happiness, was education. I could wait on the money because I knew if I took that education, the money would come in time.
Yeah.
Right? But so it's intimately understanding what that actual happiness means to everybody. Like it's such a broad term and such a loaded question. Yeah. Ask each one of your team members, like, what does happiness in the workplace look like to you? And you may need to give them time to digest that question because you just asked them a very loaded question.
And I'm gonna segue a bit because it shouldn't be about happiness, it should be about fulfillment. And let me explain how that works. Fulfillment has happiness throughout, which is great. But fulfillment also has certain types of pain. So for example, being a parent, I use the parent thing, right? I have incredible fulfillment being a parent. But with being a parent, there's tons of happiness, but there's also some pain points, right? In dealing with, and it comes with the territory. Just like being in love with somebody, just like being in a company. If I'm in a thriving startup that's doing amazing stuff, there are definitely pain points there where I'm not happy and I'm stressed out. But overall, I am super fulfilled. And what I'm looking for is to try to create more fulfilled people.
I just finished reading for the second time Phil Knight's Shoe Dog book about Nike. Yeah. Man, there was a lot of pain there within happiness. Right. So to your point, absolutely.
Yeah. All right, guys, I think we're going to sign up. But look, we hit 100 people watching. Nice. That's fantastic. But sadly, we're going to go. You can check out again this feed later on. They'll be posted, and then I'll load up on my YouTube channel as well. And otherwise, in the meantime, Michel, thanks so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good stuff. And I'll see you guys tomorrow at 8:30 a.m. for the Power Connection LinkedIn live stream. All right. All the best. See you later.
See you, everyone.